Highest divorce rates, 2 women. Lowest divorce rates, 2 men. Highest rates of domestic violence, 2 women. Lowest rates of domestic violence, 2 men. 75 to 80% of divorces filed by women. Top reasons: boredom, unhappiness, no longer compatible. Highest rates for maltreatment of children by women. Women consume social media at a far higher rate than men. Women are also 3 times more likely to deal with mental health issues than men. When you share these statistics, you are automatically labeled a misogynist pick-me who hates women, but fortunately, I care more about truth than being accepted by the sisterhood.
That's a bar right there. I don't know this young lady, but that's a bar. And I do want to say this before I react to part of what she said. There is a group of content creators that seem to find a niche that they pander to, and they're willing to use statistics. They're willing to weaponize truth. They're willing to do almost anything to grow their platform to get where they want to get to. I don't know if this is that young lady, but I do know people will use stats and truth and weaponize it to essentially pander to a people group who's willing to support it and push it forward because, they have an agenda in mind. I don't know if this is her. However, I will say the argument about what women do versus what men do will always exist. It will always exist. And I lean on the side that says we're more alike than different. So yeah, I'm sure that there are some things that we can find numbers and stats and put to it that will show that women are doing certain things. However, there are things that men are doing. Now, it is true. You have to find peace with accepting that truth will always have you at odds with some person, place, or thing, or people group. It will, because truth divides. It divides. And if you care about truth in the way that Jesus has called us to care about it, it'll matter more than being part of a certain group, being part of a certain, frat or sorority or sisterhood, brotherhood, neighborhood. Like you'll prioritize truth above all those things, and you have to make a choice every day. So I want to hear, the rest of what she's saying, but that's a bar right there. You have to care about truth more than being accepted by the sisterhood, and people do tend to insult you when you stand on truth, because they don't want to accept it. So when she was naming those stats and she was saying that women are leading in these stats and are leading in divorces because of reasons for like boredom and unhappiness and stuff like that, at the end of the day, it could be true, but it's not a reason to weaponize it. I want to hear what else she has to say, though.
I'm also not a girl's girl, I'm a woman's woman, which means taking radical responsibility and accountability for my own gender. And the truth is, we have a lot of work to do. What has happened instead is not only my generation, but the generations of women before us just constantly blame and deflect everything on men. You'll hear them say, well, if the men were good, if the men were better, if the men were more masculine, then we would be better women. And that's an extremely entitled take to say that your virtue only relies on men in society.
Listen, it's very true. I don't know what her intentions are with this. I probably would need to engage with her platform a bit more, but I'm telling you, this is truth, and there's nothing you can do about it. There are narratives out here that, if a man is more masculine, and if he's more masculine, then I'll be more feminine. If he leads, then I'll know how to submit. Now, I'm not of the perspective that what someone else does affects what you do. Now, I will say this: who you choose does have an effect on you. It should not stop your virtues from shining, because you are who you are. And honestly, what happens outside of us really reveals what's inside of us. So the whole idea of if he's a real man, then I'll be this. If he's a real leader, then I'll do this. Conditional. That's conditional. And at the end of the day, that's not how, God designed for women to exist, especially in their virtues, when in romantic relationship with women.
With that attitude, you will actually never attract the men that you claim to want in society. If you are living a debaucherous lifestyle as a woman, you cannot turn around and say, it's men's fault that I don't have anyone to marry. It's men's fault that the dating pool is messed up. No, it's your fault. The best thing that you can do in your life is just to say, everything is my fault, and start taking radical responsibility for your own life instead of blaming and deflecting on everyone else.
Yeah, I literally was just telling somebody this the other day. I'd rather take the blame so that I can, at least be able to push my life forward, because I can change the things that I'm at fault for. That's hard for some people to do. Some people just don't see it that way. And I don't know if it's a growth thing. I don't know if it's a childhood issue. I don't know, and I don't need to know. But at the end of the day, taking accountability, being responsible is something that all women must do. Blame shifting on men, because I talk to men, and I believe in holding men accountable, holding them to the fire about who God has called us to be, how he wants us to be accountable. I also think that there has to be time and a place and a space for women to be held accountable by women. And if the time comes where a man needs to express and articulate something, then he should as well express that to women. But it all comes down to prioritizing truth, but in a loving way. In a loving way. Like, truth is something that we don't weaponize. We don't need to. It's both sweet and sour. It's strong and soft. Truth is that. Truth doesn't need us to add anything to it. It doesn't need our seasoning. It doesn't need our flavor. It doesn't need any additional ingredients. Just share truth purposefully share truth, right? With the right heart, and truth would do what it's supposed to do. It will. And when a person wants truth, they'll receive it. They'll appreciate it because they have a heart for truth. But if they don't, it doesn't matter whether you lay a pillow down and then tell them the truth so that they can fall down, comfortably, or if they just fall on the ground. They don't want truth at all. And I just think there needs to be more conversations, but in spaces where people who want to hear them can hear it. It doesn't necessarily need to be forced on anybody. Like, if people want to hear truth about womanhood, about sisterhood, create a space for them, And like I said, I don't know, because there's so many panderers and grifters online who are taking truth and weaponizing it to grow a platform, to get money, to increase the divide between men and women, just different agendas. But I hope that's not the case for this young lady. But she shares some great gems, and it's something we can take away from that. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section, especially as women. Would love to hear what y'all have to say about this. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.